Welcome everybody to Extreme Off-Road Silly Bills, and today we're dealing with the 2023 Meyers Manx 2.0 EV. So this now has 260 horsepower, 312 pounds-feet of torque from its two electric motors and 40 kilowatt-hour of batteries. The car itself now weighs 1,416 pounds. Still has rear-wheel drive, but it does meet the other criteria for this series in that it's got off-road suspension and off-road tyres. So it's got 2 out of 3, which is the bare minimum. And yeah, it can now do 0 to 60 in 3.76 seconds, 0 to 108.488 seconds, and go into a top speed of 125 miles an hour, which is, yeah, the unfortunate thing about this car is we can't, for some reason, change the gearing on the car. Not sure why. You can do it on every other electric car on this game, so I'm not sure why we can't do it with this one. So yeah, the top speed is unfortunately what is going to limit this car, because even though it's got easily the least amount of power we've used on any car on this series, the acceleration times are still fairly solid, again because it doesn't weigh all that much, and we've removed the roof that this new version of the Meyers Manx comes with, as you can see, to reduce the weight. But yeah, unfortunately we cannot change the gearing, which means that this car is at a disadvantage in that regards. But still, it's got really well of a good off-road capability. It doesn't weigh very much. It's got a good amount of power and torque for a car of this weight. In fact, we weigh 234 pounds less than the standard car, which is obviously quite a big difference. We also have 60 extra horsepower and 72 extra pounds-feet of torque. So yeah, we are definitely going to be quicker than the standard car would ever be. But because of the limited top speed, we are going to be at a disadvantage compared to other cars. But still, should be interesting to see what this can do time-wise, despite that limit in top speed, because this car at the end of the day is going to be able to keep up that kind of speed for most of it, because at the end of the day it's a very good handling car. And I was just saying that just as I completely made a mistake in handling it myself. So that's one of our rewinds used up. This is a kind of thing that's a bit odd to get used to, because we don't really have rear-wheel drive only cars on this series. Pretty much every car can be changed to all-wheel drive, but this one cannot. I imagine it's because, you know, it'd be hard to, you know, physically reproduce the idea of this being an all-wheel drive vehicle, because that would mean that you'd have to have electric motors up front, and there's probably no way to calculate what that would do for the car and all of that lot. So it's probably just like a logistical nightmare for the developers to, you know, simulate that kind of conversion. But that still doesn't mean that there's no reason why you can't change the gearing. So I'm not sure why that's the case, but it's dealing with everything okay. The extra power is not overwhelming the car by any means. The lack of weight isn't throwing us around, and the electric powertrain is delivering all of that power virtually instantly to get us out of those corners. So it's doing well in that regard, but yeah, the top speed is really going to kill the amount of time that we're going to take to get down here. It's a shame, because I do believe that this would be one of the quicker EVs that we've had on this series if it had a higher top speed. If they ever do fix that aspect of this car, then I will do a redo episode of this. But I figured, with the way it is now, that's interesting enough to give it a shot. Especially since we're unlikely to get other EVs that don't have a huge amount of power on this game, because there are plenty out there. I'd love to see the Honda E make an appearance in a Forza game at some point, which again is rear-wheel drive. Doesn't have a huge amount of power, but it's a really fun-looking car, and it's apparently a fun one to drive as well. be honest, it's not looking like we're going to be a million miles behind every other vehicle. I'm doubtful that we're going to be last as well. So, yeah, the top speed here, although it's, you know, ruined our time overall, still putting a good showing despite having a far more limited top speed than every other car on this series. So yeah, 3 minutes 37.237 seconds is our final time, which granted is the slower time, or one of the slowest times that we've had for a while, but it is not last place despite having that limited top speed. In fact, we are in 128th place, which I know is extremely low, but considering the likes of a Renault 4L Export, Hot Wheels Baja Bone Shaker, Toyota FJ40, the Peel P50 and the Peel Trident all had higher top speeds than this. Granted, the Peel vehicles were never really going to be able to get up to their top speed, but they did have that option. But at least the Toyota FJ40 and the Hot Wheels car and the Renault 4L did have the option to get up to high top speeds, but they are slower than this car. So yeah, that's really rather quite impressive, to be honest, to have such a low top speed and yet not be last place, which just goes to show how good the acceleration is, how good it is off-road, how it dealt with the bumps and the jumps, and the fact that it had no real issues in terms of you know, keeping that power in check. So yeah, overall impressed by it. It's just a shame that the game itself is what limited this car's chances on this game. Nonetheless, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.